We are here in the middle of the Yukon Kuskokwim River Delta, way out in western Alaska. And this is a site that myself and some other scientists are researching because we're really interested in some of the effects of climate change on this landscape.
And then if you look at that debris line, you have that very thick line of just things that were deposited. So the flood probably came that way. Stopped when it
In the
hit this
fall
tundra.
of
Didn't flood this area.
2022, the remnants of Typhoon Merbok created a really large flood in this area. And we are interested in understanding how far inland the floodwaters came. And so we're looking at the debris that was brought inland by the flood to try to track that. Here we can see this line of debris that's washed up on this little plateau. And this gives us a sense of how far inland the water came during the highest extent of the flooding. So this debris line is composed of all kinds of little pieces of vegetation that are really light and were riding on top of the water and then deposited right here when the flood reached its final extent. But there are also areas where really large debris has been transported, including large pieces of driftwood. And some of those pieces are large enough that we can actually see them from a plane as we're flying over, and also from a satellite. In May of this year, I came out to Bethel and using a small plane, flew some transects and a grid pattern across the landscape, just looking out the window to see where I could actually observe this wood had been deposited in the landscape. And then by making a map of where that wood is, later we'll be able to actually map out how far inland we think the flood came. One of the reasons we're interested in this is to then be able to look at the impacts of the flooding on the ecosystem. Specifically, we're interested in asking, how does the flooding impact the plants? So which plants grow there? Is the flooding impacting how well different plants can grow? And then also the timing of how the plants grow. When are the buds opening up in the spring? When are we seeing flowering? And then how big are we seeing the plants grow? Are they growing bigger or smaller as a result of being exposed to the flood? We're just getting started on our measurements right now, so we don't know yet what we'll see in terms of how the landscape is responding to the flood. But we can tell really definitively where the floods have reached because of all the material that was sort of deposited on the ground at that time.